Jeopardy is a popular game that tests the knowledge of viewers and contestants. Alex Trebek hosted the show for nearly 40 years before his death in 2020. Fans took a while to warm up to Ken Jennings after Alex Trebek's death. The host of the game show just announced the date for his final show. Jeopardy makes major move in addition to the standard Jeopardy. A new version debuted last year that focused on current events and entertainment. Pop Culture Jeopardy! Premiered last December on Amazon. Saturday Night Live star Colin Jost stepped in as host to give Ken Jennings a break and the show a fresh face. Jeopardy! The first season was a hit with viewers, but it is making a major move ahead of season 2. Deadline reported last week that the pop culture spin-off of the game show is moving to Netflix for a new season in 2026. Colin Jost is in talks to return as host, but not yet guaranteed. The reason for the surprising move was cited as Amazon struggling to find its footing in the game show genre. Ken Jennings gives date of his final show after 8 years. Ken Jennings was not the first choice to replace Alex Trebek as host of Jeopardy! Mike Richards, a producer on the show, was initially given the difficult job of stepping in after Alex Trebek's death. But Mike Richards was forced to step down within days due to past controversies coming to light. Ken Jennings and actress Mayim Bialik took over as hosts, initially sharing the role. Ken Jennings hosted the daily syndicated shows, and Mayim Bialik was the host for the primetime specials. Eventually, Ken became the full-time host. Ken Jennings. As a former champ, he has great insight into what it takes to win the show. Ken Jennings lives in Seattle, Washington, with his family, and travels to California to tape the show. He has other things going on too, and it's too much. The Jeopardy! Host broke the news that he's leaving one show behind due to his busy schedule. He announced on Instagram that he's leaving the Omnibus podcast that he co-hosts with John Roderick. I'm so proud of the 8 years John Roderick and I spent unearthing weird oddities of the past on our podcast Omnibus, but my travel schedule is making it harder and harder to keep up with the show. So we're bringing in a cavalcade of guest hosts to help out, Ken Jennings wrote. He revealed that his final show will be a live extravaganza in Seattle on November 8th. He promised music surprises and, most importantly, cheese. Fans of the podcast were heartbroken over the unexpected news. A true end of an era, one fan described it. Leaving the podcast gives Ken Jennings more time to host Jeopardy! And other endeavors. In the world of trivia and television, few institutions command the respect and loyalty of Jeopardy! For nearly 4 decades, the familiar theme music and the calm, authoritative presence of Alex Trebek were nightly rituals in millions of homes. His passing in 2020 left a void that seemed impossible to fill, launching a turbulent period of guest hosts and public scrutiny as the show searched for its new identity. While former champion Ken Jennings eventually emerged as the sole permanent host, his journey to the podium was anything but straightforward. Now, in a move that signals a new chapter for both the man and the franchise, Jennings has announced the end of one of his passion projects, a decision that underscores the immense demands of steering television's most beloved quiz show as its universe continues to grow in unexpected ways. The news broke not on a television network, but on social media. Ken Jennings took to Instagram to deliver a heartfelt announcement to the listeners of the Omnibus podcast, the quirky, deep dive project he has co-hosted with musician and writer John Roderick for the past 8 years. I'm so proud of the 8 years John Roderick and I spent unearthing weird oddities of the past on our podcast Omnibus, Jennings wrote. However, he cited an increasingly packed schedule as the reason for his departure, specifically pointing to a grueling travel commitment. But my travel schedule is making it harder and harder to keep up with the show, so we're bringing in a cavalcade of guest hosts to help out. His final episode, he revealed, will not be a standard recording but a live extravaganza in his hometown of Seattle, Washington on November 8th, promising music surprises and, most importantly, cheese. The announcement was met with immediate dismay from the podcast's dedicated fan base, with one commenter perfectly capturing the sentiment by calling it a true end of an era. This strategic retreat from a long-standing personal endeavor highlights the all-consuming nature of his primary role, being the face of Jeopardy! Jennings' path to the host's lectern was itself a dramatic arc. In the wake of Alex Trebek's death, producer Mike Richards was initially named the successor, only to be forced to step down within days after past controversies resurfaced. This left the show in a precarious state. The solution was a dual hosting model, with actress Mayim Bialik handling primetime specials, and Jennings, the record-breaking champion who had become synonymous with the game itself, taking the reins of the daily syndicated show. His deep-seated knowledge of the game's mechanics and his empathy for the contestants' experience eventually won over a skeptical audience still mourning Trebek. When Bialik departed last year, Jennings finally became the full-time sole host, cementing his legacy not just as the greatest player in the show's history, but as its steward for a new generation. This consolidation of hosting duties is just one part of a massive expansion for the Jeopardy! Brand. The franchise is no longer confined to syndicated television. Last year saw the debut of Pop Culture Jeopardy! A spin-off designed to test knowledge of entertainment and current events, which premiered on Amazon Prime Video. In a bold and surprising move reported last week by Deadline, the show is now packing its bags for a new home. Ahead of its second season, Pop Culture Jeopardy! Is moving to the streaming giant Netflix, with new episodes slated for 2026. The reason for the shift points to the competitive nature of the streaming landscape. Amazon, despite its success with the first season, has reportedly been struggling to find a solid footing in the game show genre, leading to this strategic transfer. While Saturday Night Live star Colin Jost, who served as host for the inaugural season, is in talks to return, his role is not yet guaranteed. This move to Netflix, with its global reach of over 270 million subscribers, represents a monumental step for the franchise, potentially introducing the classic Jeopardy! Format to a vast, new, and younger audience. For Ken Jennings, this expansion means his role is more demanding than ever. While he is not the host of the pop culture spinoff, his position as the cornerstone of the main show requires his presence for countless filming days in California, a significant commute from his family home in Seattle. Leaving the Omnibus podcast is a clear prioritization of his energy, a necessary sacrifice to maintain the quality and consistency the audience expects from the flagship program. It is the closing of one door to ensure another remains wide open. The narrative of Jeopardy! In the post-Trebek era is one of evolution, resilience, and growth. From a painful and uncertain transition, the show has not only found its footing, but is boldly charging into the future. Ken Jennings, once the ultimate contestant, has fully transformed into the leader of the pack, a role that requires his undivided attention. As one chapter of his life concludes with a final podcast in Seattle, the chapters of the empire he now guides are being written on a global scale, from the soundstage in California to the screens of millions on Netflix. The message is clear: Jeopardy! Is not just surviving. It's adapting, expanding, and ensuring that its legacy of curiosity and knowledge will continue for years to come.